He's always done us a good job.
Well, you probably get more money.
Call to order the Siloam Springs Board of Directors meeting for July 2nd, 2024. Roll call.
Blair. Here. Long.
You here?
Wiles.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Rissler.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, if you all, are we on? There we are. Do we have it? Yeah, there it is. At this time, if you all will please stand with me as Director Hunt leads us in prayer. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we approach Independence Day, I just want to thank you for that we have, both in you, but also just in this nation in which we thank you for those who have fought for our freedom, and just thank you for those who continue to fight that we are able to enjoy. Lord, I pray that you preside over this meeting tonight, that we work together for the good of the city and our citizens.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I would like to ask that anyone that has an electronic device, please silence that or turn that off, whatever works for you. And thank you very much for that. Also, because we are having some issues off and on with our sound system, I'd like to remind the directors that we need to speak directly into mics so that we can get it recorded, so that our city clerk won't have a lot of problems whenever she goes back to listen to it later. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you all. So with that, we will move into the agenda. First item is our public input. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board on any item that is not on our regularly scheduled agenda? There is not. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board on an item that is on our consent agenda? There is not, so thank you. We will move then into the consent agenda. A, regular meeting minutes, June 18, 2024. Item B, reactivate contract, Gov Deals Incorporated, option B, city surplus. That is all of the items on our consent agenda. Directors, is there anything that you would like to have removed for separate consideration? If there is not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Long.
Yes?
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next, we will move into our ordinances. Ordinance 24-16, third reading, amending section 102-21 of the City Municipal Code, rezoning from A1 to C2, 3990 Highway 412 East. Chris, are you presenting that for us?
I can. This item is on its third reading, and nothing has changed since the previous reading, and staff is available for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Directors, comments or questions? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on ordinance 24-16? There being none, do I have a motion to place ordinance 24-16 on its third and final reading, suspending the rules and reading by title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Long.
Yes?
Motion is approved. Allen?
Ordinance number 24-16, ordinance amending section 102-21 of the Siloam Springs Municipal Code, city zoning map, rezoning from A1 to C2, property located at 3990 Highway 412 East.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor, I make
Yes.
a motion, we adopt ordinance 24-16.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Roll call.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler. Yes. Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Motion to adopt is passed, so we are, ordinance 24-16 is adopted. Next is ordinance 24-17, third reading, clerk retirement, Renee Ellis. And Christina, you have that?
Christina Patriches, Finance Director. Before you is the third reading of the ordinance authorizing Renee Ellis to receive up to a 3% cost of living adjustment to her retirement benefit when city staff receives a cost of living adjustment as their annual raise. And staff is available for questions.
Thank you. Directors, comments or questions? There being none, is there anyone in the audience that has comments or questions on ordinance 24-17? There is none. So directors, do I have a motion to place ordinance 24-17 on its third reading, suspending the rules, reading by title only?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Rissler. No. Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Abstain.
Long.
Yes.
Wiles.
No.
Hunt.
Yes.
Motion is adopted, or approved, I'm sorry. Alan?
Ordinance 24-17, an ordinance approving retirement benefits for the city clerk.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 24-17?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Roll call.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Abstain.
Long.
Yes.
Wiles.
No.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler. No.
Ordinance 24-17 is adopted. Next is ordinance 24-18, second reading, amending City Municipal Code, Chapter 6, Alcoholic Beverages, Neighboring Properties Exception. Megan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. This is the second reading for a code amendment to amend Chapter 6 for alcoholic beverages to allow for a neighboring properties exception in regards to places of worship. There have been no changes to the code amendment since the last reading, and staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Directors, comments or questions? There is none. Is there anyone in the audience that has comments or questions on ordinance 24-18? There being none? Yes, okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Rebecca Wyatt, 1109 East Jewel Street. This is the ordinance that would let a neighbor allow, a church allow somebody within 200 feet to have a alcoholic, sell alcohol, like in a restaurant or something. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I would just like to say that my thoughts on it were that if somebody allowed this and they thought a nice place would go in, it would be decent and clean, so to speak. But what happens if it was built and it didn't turn out to be like the church thought it would be, or it got seedier down the line and they had already given their approval, they couldn't take it back, and it may be a long time. And this is just kind of I'm seeing like an erosion for our biblical heritage. In the Bible, we are allowed to drink. We're not supposed to be filled with drink. So there's those differences with alcohol. But the biblical heritage of Siloam Springs was to give 200 feet away from all churches. And that was to honor God, I believe. I mean, I don't know any of those people that put that in place originally, but I think it was to honor God and just 200 feet of churches. So I personally would like to have it stay the way it is. And so I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Would you, Madam Mayor, may I ask her a question?
You may.
So if there wasn't a church there, they could be seedier still. So the exception is that the church and the church signed off on it. I'm not trying to get into whether we should have them or not. The question is, they could build it if the church wasn't there. And so.
Yes.
Do you see where, from our point of view, it's like, well, the only exception we have is not within church or school.
Yes.
And so if the church basically says we waive our right,
You know, sometimes,
if they went anywhere else in town and built a CD,
yeah,
you know, you're the one that brought that up.
Yeah.
They could still come in and, under this law.
I was kind of thinking about why didn't they do that? Why are they wanting to be closed so that maybe this, you know, I don't know what their purpose is in doing this, but it's like there are many places that you guys could put your restaurant or whatever you want to build in Asylum Springs. It's not like we're landlocked, you know, with nothing to buy. And 200 feet is not very far away. So there's plenty of places to put your thing instead of having it by a school or, you know, now oftentimes with churches, sometimes people don't realize they were trying to be nice to their neighbor, and so maybe they'll say, oh, go ahead, we don't mind. And then they find out that the place turns out to be really bad, or maybe it's fine, you know, but they don't have an option afterwards. I mean, once the place is built, you're stuck. So, and, you know, that just kind of was my thoughts, is just it's kind of pushing against things that were put in place years ago that really kind of held things at check. And last meeting, we saw, you know, the couple of different smoke shops that carry drug paraphernalia for smoke, you know, all the stuff that they carried. And it just seems like we're just pushing against, you know, ordinances and rules, you know, that were put in place to keep a Christian heritage and honor God, in my opinion. So does that answer what you were?
Not even close, but I appreciate your thought.
Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Sorry.
That's fine. No, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Chris Paxton,
Chris.
the Director of Community Development, I did
Yes.
want to slightly clarify, there is a clause within the ordinance proposal that states that the authorized exception shall be revoked due to the following events. The third option is that the location could be, is lawfully closed by a public official for code enforcement or health and human safety reasons, including but not limited to noise violations, over serving, consumption outside of the premises, or exceeding occupancy limitations. And I hope that that clarifies some of those concerns with the board.
Yes, thank you, Chris, absolutely. Yes, David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify some concerns where I'm coming from on believing this is the right thing to do. There has been a very unlevel playing field for restaurants that serve alcohol in downtown versus those who are not downtown. The 200 feet requirement does not apply to restaurants and clubs that are downtown in the historic district. The fact that there have been some restaurants that have closed because of, some of it was COVID, some of it was just competition, but the owners of the buildings have at least extended to me that they believe what the occupants had explained, that if they had had a liquor license and been able to compete with downtown on these type of things, that it might have helped them stay open. So this is not just something that is open for some bar to open up. This is mainly to allow a restaurant to have the ability to serve alcohol. The most guarded part of this that I look at is that it is only approved if the city administrator approves it. The church must write a letter that they have no qualms with it, that they're fine with it, but it will not move forward unless the city administrator investigates it and actually gives his approval of it. So that's why I feel like it is different than, and as you were saying, Rebecca, these things, this law, this rule was made quite some time ago. What has changed is that the historic district downtown, since that was originally done, was exempted. So it has not been a level playing field for some time. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, Kent Wyatt, 1109 East Jewel Street. I appreciate what you're saying and what everybody's talked about. I think when Rebecca and I, we prayed and we considered, but we appreciated the pastor that did get up and speak before. And the thing that really came down to talk is just, as we said, it's just one more step. It's one more step closer to or away from the things that we are as the city of Siloam Springs, the majority of people in this community, being that conservative Christian background, the biblical heritage. In my 30 years of law enforcement, over 30 years, I've never seen alcohol do anything good. I've seen it do a lot of bad. I would say the majority, but a huge percentage of the things that I dealt with had to do with alcohol and the abuse of it and the different things. And it's almost a little bit like the other thing that we were talking about in the smoke shops. You're dealing with some people's addictions. And maybe there are some people that can consume alcohol and not become addicted and not have problems. And I'm not saying that's everyone. But alcohol is much different than it was in the old days and things. And now it's designed for one purpose, and that is to become intoxicated. I mean, there are drinks that have flavor and things like that, but the alcohol is a greater content now. So things are much different than when we originally started thinking about things. So Rebecca's talking about biblical days and such. But I just think it's one more step away from where we really want to be. I appreciated Carol. One of the last things she said in that other debate was, we don't want our town to look trashy. I'm not saying everything does become trashy that way, but I just know how things become when people drink. And it doesn't produce good stuff. It really doesn't. So I just wanted to consider that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Is there
Mayor-
anyone else in the audience before I come back to the directors?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Is there anyone else? There is not. David?
Thank you, Kent. I will state that I still believe I was mayor at the time that it was voted on for the county. I did not support changing this county to wet. I still wish we were a dry county because, as I told people, you can drive to the state line, you can drive to Taneytown, and if somebody just has to have a drink and there's a restaurant, you can set up a club membership if you have to, the way Don Hill was. But I never supported it. The only reason I support this is because I believe in fairness. And as it is now, it is not a fair situation. And because of that, I think it should be a more level playing field. On top of that, I do believe it is mainly just addressing restaurants that serve alcohol, and I don't know of any restaurant that's going to allow someone to treat it like a bar and get intoxicated while they're having a meal. I just don't believe there's any restaurants at Siloam that would allow that to take place. But I do respect and greatly appreciate Rebecca and Kent's comments, as
Thank you,
well
David.
as Pastor Horton, who was here last time.
Thank you, David. Directors, anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to place ordinance 24-18 on its second reading, suspending the rules, reading by title only?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Alan?
Ordinance number 24-18, municipal code with respect to spacing requirements from places of worship.
Thank you, sir. Next is ordinance 24-19, second reading, annexation of 9.89 acres, 700 block of West Pittsfield Street. Ben, are you presenting that one? Or-
I can,
Yes,
Madam Mayor.
okay.
Yeah, this is the second reading of the annexation. It's roughly about, as the mayor stated, about 10 acres reading. There's not been any additional changes since the first reading and no additional questions to staff. We are still recommending approval and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Directors, comments or questions? If there is not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this ordinance? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Joel Carroll, 2008 North Carl Street. We enjoy our neighborhood, and we welcome these people who come in and make our neighborhood even better. Only concern that we have is the drainage of our properties. At this point, the backside of our yard, when we do have a good rain, gets quite filled at the bottom and down in among the trees. Those trees used to be thinned out by the cattle, and we enjoyed the cattle when we had them, but they're no longer there, and that's all right. But when we move into this and develop it into housing, we're going to welcome the neighbors, but we would like to have the drainage problem addressed.
Thank you very much, Joel.
Madam Mayor?
Yep, just let me finish with public
sorry.
comments. No, that's fine. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this ordinance? Yes, sir.
Ron Homeyer, Civil Engineering, 701 South Mount Olive. Obviously, I had to come up and address this one. This property is in the low area. The neighbors to the east, neighbors to the west, neighbors to the south, they all drain onto this property. All the water will be accepted and carried into the streets and through the drainage system, just as it's been doing before. So if it's not getting off of their property through the fence, that's not anything we're going to change, but we will have all of the drainage in place so that what does come onto our property will be carried through and out without backing up onto their properties.
Thank you, Ron. Is there anyone else in the audience? If not, then I will come back to the directors and Mark.
Staff, I appreciate what Ron said, but I also heard him say that he was not addressing this. Can we assure this fine gentleman that not only will it not get worse, it'll get better?
Kevin Moore, city engineer. I think to Ron's point, as water leaves the neighboring properties, it would then be collected and distributed through this proposal. But any issues that they're currently having isolated within their own property would not be bettered or worsened by something that's done off-site.
I know I'm the new guy. I would like to table this until I can go out with staff and be assured that we're not going to cause any issue. I don't want to offend anyone, but I also think this gentleman is a great neighbor and we need to address it.
So would you like to make a motion to table?
Yes, I would.
And-
Until the next meeting.
Until the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So until our next regular scheduled meeting. Do I have a second for that table?
Well, this is the second reading, right? So-
Yes, it is.
So we still have another reading before we make a decision?
Yes,
But you
yes.
still want to table?
I would like to table it. I would like to be assured of this question.
Second. You have a second to table? Roll call.
We did have a second, okay.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Long.
Yes?
Wiles.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes,
Carroll.
I will abstain on this one. Thank you.
Motion to table is approved. This will come back to us on our next meeting, which is July the 16th.
Madam Mayor, may I say
Yes.
something just real quickly?
Yes.
I just want to thank Mr. Carroll for coming and speaking to us and telling us what your concern is, but also making it very obvious that you welcome the new development and you want what's best for all. So I just appreciate that attitude behind it, and we'll try to get some answers. One thing I want to add to that is in my ward is I know initially when we were considering this development. I think it was a little bit bigger, but there was some concern about increased traffic on Carl Street. And sometimes the speed is a little bit high, I understand. Cars going up, so I just want to make sure that we're continue to be aware of that, speeding along Carl Street, if that means extra patrol there or whatever we can do. So just wanted to bring that up while we were talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I would also like to say it was a surprise, a welcome surprise, but thank you, Mr. Carroll, for saying you welcome the neighbor. We rarely hear that, so thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
All right, so with that, we will move on to ordinance 24-20, second reading, 2024 annexation election. Ben?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me bring up a slide here. Something new since last time. All right, thank you. Greetings, Madam Mayor and Board. So before you is the second reading for the annexation ordinance. This is to establish the annexation as a measure for the Siloam Springs voters on November 5th. So staff looked at the fiscal impact. I believe that question did come up last time at the first reading, and determined that based off of the percentage of the buyouts costs that the city would recover the initial costs of the annexations, as you see, within 3 to 4 years. So the electric buyouts are roughly $2.6 million. That's buyouts as well as the Carroll equipment. And then the annual cost for street maintenance, sanitation, other services are roughly around $18,210. And the grand total, $2.6 million there. So again, with the new revenues that we'd be getting from the customers, fees and such of that, within 3 to 4 years, we would absorb that cost. With that, we didn't have anything else new to add, but staff and Planning Commission and Utility Commission are all still recommending approval. We're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Directors, comments or questions?
Madam Mayor, I was going to try to do some quick calculating right there. So a total of $2,600,000, but we would recover that within 3 to 4 years. So then our annual added income from the electric, if my math is right, would that be around $750 a year or so? Does that sound about right? If we break even within 3 to 4 years? Kevin, I know you know math.
Yes, that's a good
That's
estimate.
about right? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mark?
So, Ben, so the real question is generally when we're annexing, what I believe that the average property owner is going to say is, what's in it for me? And I see this, but the real issue, and I appreciate this, it does answer the question that was asked, but the real question is, okay, so we're going to obviously need to build streets, we obviously need to build sewer and water, and I don't know the plan. That's your guys' job, right? I mean, you know what we need or what's going to be anticipated and how many years before we bring it. So is it too much to ask? And I don't want it exactly, and this is very detailed math, but I mean, are we talking about we need $50 million to build 4 roads and we need to do it in 4 years? Do you understand what I'm asking? I don't want an exact.
I do understand. I am going to defer a little bit of my answer to the engineer and community development directors, because I think they would want to comment as well. But I would say that what we're looking at is really an investment in the future of Siloam Springs. So we're not talking about initially putting in the water and the sewer and all that. That will be driven by development. So when development comes in, new preliminary plat, that developer will be extending those sewer lines or water lines to service their development. So a lot of it will be paid by private money that will then be dedicated back to the city through the subdivision process.
Can I jump in just?
Yeah.
20 years later, now what we usually do is we build the big line, and we go out there and we spend several $1 million. Yes, development comes in and it's great, and they develop their But we have to build the big trunk lines, we have to build the roads. Nobody's ever gonna come in and build the main roads. Very well, and I'm not trying to argue. I'm saying, yes, you're right, and I get it. But no, we always have to go out and build the big road, and we always have to build the trunk lines, and it's millions. Am I way off here? I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying, shouldn't we have an idea how many $1 million we're spending?
I'll defer that, Chris.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Chris.
Chris Paxton, Director of Community Development. When we're talking about the costs here, we're associating those just with the more immediate costs. Whenever we talk about street maintenance and those things, those are the immediate costs associated with the annexation. When we talk about the long-range planning, we would have, there's going to be long-range planning with the streets in these areas, just like there would be in any other part of the city. They would have to get onto I think we refer to it as the Master Street Repair Plan as of right now, and we're working on expanding that. There's also already plans to expand water, and there's already going to be development in these areas. Whether or not we annex in at this point, there will be development within these areas over the next 20 years. And we will be responsible for providing services for these areas over the next 20 years. This item is about getting ahead of that, ensuring that we have a properly maintained street transportation network and that we can start incorporating those into our master plans for the next 20 years. The sooner we get the street network, for example, just as a part of that, as soon as we get that into the master planning and ensure that it's already a part of the city, then we can start those plans now, and we can start working on it when the proper date is to do the more advanced maintenance. The regular street maintenance would happen immediately. That's where.
If it sounds like I'm against annexation, I am not. I love the idea, and I get why you guys like the idea, but I'm saying, shouldn't we kind of be blunt and open and saying, this is going to be a 15-year plan. We can't build more than $1 million a year. I don't know. I don't know the dollar amount, but it's going to take us 15 years, or let's be honest and say it's going to take us 15 years to get the basis of the thing built. And that's what I would like to put out there. I think if we're going to, this is more of an aggressive plan from the citizens' position. We're aggressively taking the land, and I'm not saying we shouldn't. I think we should. I think we are better for them than not. But if we don't admit and say, okay, here's how much we think it's going to spend, and this is how long it's going to take. What used to happen, and I'm not sure if this is still the case, their electricity would be higher. So you come in and you're not in the city, we buy your electric, and you're paying 20% more, and our water's 20 or a percentage. And so there is an advantage. So we take you in.
To being in the city.
Yeah, we take you in, your taxes go up, yes, but your water goes down, or your trash, or whatever goes. And so I'm trying to tell the public that we are kinder and we are gentler, and here's the truth. And so am I asking for an enormous amount of staff time to say, really, we're going to draw every street, but we're going to build these main streets, and we're going to do the trunk lines for the water and sewer, and we're looking at 15 years or 25 years, and be blunt and honest and say, we want you, and here's what we're really going to do. Am I asking a lot?
No, Director, I don't think you're asking a lot. I think that these are things that the city administrator is working on some of these items. I know that one of the goals right now with water services is to get together that will identify those goals in the progressive manner that you talk about that goes out further. Those do take a little bit of more time to develop those plans based off of, and they're going to probably be driven based off of development patterns over the next 10 years. I know that it's going to be slightly separate whenever you're talking about water and sewer and that's slightly out of my lane. I'm not the director for water and sewers, but whenever you're talking about either that, and when we start talking about how far are we going out over certain periods of time, those have to be a part of the master plan for that division. I know we're also working on different master plans associated with streets, and by incorporating these into the streets, we can get those into those master plans and start to prioritize those based off of usage, based off of development patterns within the city. Based off of what our fire and police services need. Our police services, for example, there's areas where they're not, it's very challenging to determine if you're in the city or if you're in the county. We have MOUs in certain areas, but to some of the younger officers, it can be challenging whenever you're talking about those fringes of the cities where you're talking about going into the county and then back into the city. So we're trying to capture those transportation networks now, and that's one of our main goals is to get these into the city and then incorporate those into the long-range master plans as we go along.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Alan, can I?
Yes, sir.
So I know I'm new, and I know I'm kind of throwing you come from behind in the race, you got to try to catch up. Am I asking too much for the details? I mean, there's going to be one more reading, and
Yeah.
I don't want a detailed engineered drawing of where the roads are going to go. What I'd like to say is, well, there's probably 10 miles here, and kind of a bulk estimate. Am I asking too much in too short a time?
It's been a long process so far, town hall meetings, discussing a lot of these things. One of the things I don't know if the director knows is one of the things we're in negotiation with Carroll Electric right now that are inside our service territory. Once these negotiations are finalized, our service territory is going to grow. I mean, that's going to happen there. Phil can touch on that a little bit where they have, and now we're having to take that over as we negotiate and finalize this. So a part of this is we're going to have to provide services anyway because it's going to be in our service territory. We will be, this budget year, the board will be seeing a master sewer plan. And my thoughts on that are, I want people to be able to look and say, hey, this year, this is when we're getting sewer, and then the next year, we're going to get this sewer. And there could be setbacks and different things, but at least we'll have a plan on our master street plans and our drainage plans and our sewer where people at least know it's coming that way. And that is my plan going forward, at least tell them, hey, in 2027, Carl Street should be seeing this, or Tahlequah, if that answers your question, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Go ahead, Lisa, and then Betsy, I'll come to you.
I said this at the last meeting, and I'm going to continue saying it every meeting because we have different people in the audience. My vote on this is to represent all the citizens. I have some citizens that say, yeah, I'm for it, and I have some citizens that say, I'm against it. And I think this is for all the directors. We want to make sure everybody has a voice, because we could actually vote and do the annexation without it going to the vote of the people. I don't believe in that. I believe in people having a voice and for it going to the ballot and people having a say on whether this goes through or not. So it's just allowing people to have a voice. I don't want to take somebody's voice away. So please understand where my vote is coming from. I do care about the people in the county. I grew up in the country. I know when you move into the country, you want to live in the country. But I also understand, again, about having someone not losing their voice, so.
Thank you, Lisa. Betsy?
Not what I was going to say, but thank you. And I too, yes, believe in giving the people the vote on this since we represent them. My question is Davidson Road. Obviously, we know it needs to be paved or repaved, or is that in those numbers? What's the plan with Davidson Road?
Kevin Moore, city engineer. The plan with Davidson Road, so there is a section that's being paved as part of the Castlewood preliminary plat. That's from their plat there, about halfway between Hico and Country Club to the remainder of Country Club. The rest of it falls under that same category of as the area develops, it would be extended by the developer.
Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience? Oh, I'm sorry, Reed?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
kind of to touch on your point, Mark, what I have said previously is that the monkey is on the city's back right now. What I mean by that is we have to give some kind of benefit to the people. And if the people do not see that benefit, then they have the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to vote no on this. So number one, I think it's good that it's going to the people. But number two, and I don't mean putting burdens so much, but we as a city need to show that, yes, we can do this. We're not just doing a land grab, but we have actually a proactive plan on what's happening, where we're going and how we're going to do it, so that if you live out in the country now, and it would be city, you can be looking towards something at some point. And that's up to us. And I think that's what Alan is working on, toward getting some kind of a game plan, so that by the time we vote on this in November, we have an idea of what's going to happen, or it's going to get thwarted. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Yes, David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with what you said, Reed. And I agree with what you said, Mark. The thing I have heard so often, and I've been hearing it for the last year when we first started talking about annexation, why would we be trying to take on all of this with the expectation of all the things we have to provide for new property in the city limit, when we're not taking care of everything we have in the city limits now? I'm saying that's what I've heard the most. So people do have to realize, if they're in the annexed area, they're not going to have sewer next week. They're not going to have city water next week. It will take time. It will be a process. There'll be a time frame for every utility. And of course, most of that, as Ben was saying, comes with new development. So if there's a house, some homeowner out in the middle surrounded by 40 acres and says, I'll never sell this property for the rest of my life, but, and I've gotten an email that says, but the next the next person who buys it when I die, I know they'll develop this. So there just has to be a knowledge that it's not going to be something we can turn on in 6 months. It's infrastructure. It takes time to build. It takes time for developers to come in, and, you know, you got to rake the yard before you see the grass grow. And that's just how everything happens. So I just don't want everybody thinking that, yes, if it's voted in and it's part of the city limits, fire and police are the two things that we can immediately take in, because they are the things that don't require physical infrastructure to get to a home. But, you know, the other thing that would be happening eventually is the buyout of Carroll Electric if people are on Carroll. But as Administrator Gilbert was saying, there's an awful lot of people on Carroll that never should have been on Carroll, that are in the city limits and should have been city electric. And it was an error that was really on Carroll's part to flip in behind the city's under our nose, really. And so it's a process. I'm just saying, it's a process.
Thank you, David. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, based on what David was just saying, the people that shouldn't have ever been on Carroll Electric. So the $2,600,000, is that worst-case scenario? It might not be that much for buyouts if we get some of those people in that should have been in to begin with? Does that make sense?
I think the question is, does that include these ones that we were already told earlier that are in the city limit, the current city limit?
Right.
Or is it separate?
So Phil, can you answer that for us, maybe?
Yeah, Phil Stokes, Electric Director. In our negotiation with Carroll currently, it mirrors pretty well what our annexation is. Okay, so that number is real close to what it'll be if we go forward with what Carroll is proposing. We're still in negotiations, and the thing with Carroll is they want us to lock in for 20 years. And we're saying we don't want to do that. If we want to lock in, we want to go up closer Well, I just can't reveal all the stuff we're wanting to do, but,
Lock in, what do you mean lock in?
well, they're saying, we're going to draw a new line, and we don't want you to exceed that for 20 years.
A line that we don't cross into their territory?
Yes.
And
And
they
it-
have the gall when they came into the city limits with Carroll Electric quite some time ago? I think the question was, is the 2.6 million just on the annex, proposed annex, or is that including these homeowners that we already talked about, I guess, last year about?
That's just on the proposed annex.
Okay.
Okay. so
Because I
that-
knew that was something we had already voted on and said, we've got to do this, that
Yeah.
other thing, yeah.
Okay, so
north
that
of
is an
town.
amount we know we will
Yep.
pay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Directors, anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to ordinance 24-20? There is not. Directors, do I have a motion to place ordinance 24-20 on its second reading, suspending the rules, reading by title only?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Long,
Yes.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Alan?
Ordinance number 24-20, an ordinance submitting to the voters of the city of Siloam Springs and other affected persons the question of annexation of certain contiguous territory for the purpose of responsible growth, improved transportation networks, and utility cost control.
Thank you, sir. Next is ordinance 24-21, second reading, Electric Department Agricultural Interruptible Rate. Phil?
Thank you, Mayor. Phil Stokes, Electric Director. Nothing has changed since the first ordinance reading, and so we're available for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Directors, comments or questions?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Lisa.
Phil, have we heard back from any of the current customers since the first meeting? Have we heard anything?
No, we have not.
Not one? Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address ordinance 24-21? There is not. Directors, do I have a motion to place ordinance 24-21 on its second reading, suspending the rules, reading by title only?
So moved. Second.
We have 2 motions and 2 seconds. Roll call.
Wiles,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Alan?
Ordinance number 24-21, ordinance amending section 98-58 of Siloam Springs Municipal Code to establish the agriculture interruptible rate, air for the Siloam Springs Electric Department, and other purposes.
Thank you, sir. Next is ordinance 24-23, first reading, amending section 102-21 of the City Municipal Code, rezoning from I-1 to PD 2200 Highway 16. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor. This item was presented in its first reading at the agenda session. I did want to state that there's been quite a few different just general inquiries about this project and offered to do the presentation again to the board at the board's request. Other than that, there hasn't been any changes since the agenda session, but staff is available to give that presentation if the board desires.
Thank you, Chris. So directors, comments or questions for Chris? Mark?
I don't know how to make this. My history is we sort of, in the past, held a higher standard for the original information. So anything I may say or vote against is based on, I don't feel comfortable with some of the details, and I mentioned them, that we're not enforcing. I realize that's how we do it, but from this position, if we vote for people, and then they tweak it, and we don't like the details, then we vote against it, and then the public says, wait a minute, you were all for it before. Now you're against it. And so Do you understand what I feel very uncomfortable not knowing, yeah, we're gonna hold them to a 26-foot street width, or, yes, we have a plan, and we're not gonna fix that road until, 2030. And so the addition, the extension of the road won't be right, so you 10-year, understand what I'm saying?
I do, and Madam Mayor,
Yes, Chris.
I think that one of the things that I could address on that is I believe, and I didn't do the initial review on this, so I may deflect to staff to correct me if any of my statements are a little bit incorrect, but I believe that the developer on Quarter Road has offered to develop Quarter Road all the way to the west to make that east-west connection, which would allow connectivity in that overall area a little bit better. I know you had some concerns
All the way
about,
west to Highway 16?
where was
Or
that?
59, I mean?
Their extension would be from where Waukesha turns into Quarter Road to Highway 16. So the existing portion of Quarter Road across the Simmons factory would remain as it is until rebuilt by the city.
Nope, say that again?
And until rebuilt in the future.
So they would finish to Highway 59, or they would?
No, from 16 to Waukesha is what's proposed.
Right. And so, my opinion is that's maybe the worst, Waukesha on the 59 is maybe the worst road in town, and so we're gonna have a brand-new, nice road, and then one that will get worse as the traffic hits the bad spots.
And I would just respond to that. Usually whenever we have an area where, when we do have an increase in traffic over time, it would likely cause that area to, if it's experiencing more traffic and has more of a use, then it would likely raise itself up on the maintenance list for reconstruction. I don't know if that road is currently on the list, but I could, Kevin?
That road is currently on our list for repairs. I don't recall where it ranks, but it was one that was put forward as a possible bond of multiple streets to be rebuilt. But to Chris's point, it would be reevaluated as the traffic increases, and then of course as we set budget each year, that ranking is at the board's pleasure if they wish to move that project up.
And I believe that east-west connection, I think that's going to also be one of the things that we used as a factor to determine whether or not staff recommended approval of this project. I did have another director called me and asked questions about this. One of the things to also note is the project itself is going to be over a larger area, so it actually reduced in density. So having multiple connections and a reduction in density did weigh into our determination to make our recommendation.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, David.
Chris, it will be over a wider area if this is passed tonight.
That is correct.
I was told many, many years ago, and I don't know if it was our city engineer at the time, Mr. Homeyer, or if it was Ben Rhodes, but sometime in the 90s, we were informed you never put residential next to industrial. You always buffer with commercial. That was like the rule that was ingrained in the board, that you just don't do that. And I see throughout this map that, once again, there's just been, changes here and there to PD from previous industrial. And I don't see the point of changing this remaining purple section, the industrial, to planned development. We can say, oh yeah, we're gonna work on Waukesha Road. There are far more traveled and important roads in the city of Siloam than Waukesha Road. And this developer may say they're gonna finish the road. They're not gonna repave the old Waukesha part. They're just gonna go to the rest of Highway 16. I don't think it's a good enough offset to allow them to build more homes in a smaller area that really is supposed to remain industrial. I get back to every time we turn around that an out-of-town developer wants to make a change to what we have in our code, that we are asked to amend something or give variance or something, whatever. I've had far too many people around Siloam say, if it's in the code, it's in the code for a reason. So why are we constantly giving bypasses to this person, this person, this person? So I'm not going to support this. I'll vote no on this.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? Betsy?
Madam Mayor, and staff and I have discussed this, and so it's more a comment than a question, because I was told we don't have a lot of industrial, and so that concerns me to change it to planned development. And like David said, amending our code again to allow for more units, that really doesn't thrill me either. So code is there for a reason, but I respect y'all's decisions too.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address ordinance 24-23? Yes, sir.
Kevin Williams, 2604 Courtney Circle. I remember first time this was brought forward, it was a smaller area, more apartments basically, and they were going to do a portion of Quarter Road, not finished. You guys looked at it, considered it, but wanted to know what the cost was to go ahead and finish Quarter Road. Kevin, or do you guys remember what that cost? I know you brought it to the board.
I'd hate to guess and be too far off. It was over 1 million, I think, for the remaining extension.
It was over $1 million. I don't remember the exact number, but now we have someone that's offering to do the entire road, same developer, less dense of apartments in an area on a road that is needed. And yes, I understand it goes into Waukesha and that part of Quarter Road is rough, but it's heavily traveled already. People just go around Kenwood, down Quarter Road, or Waukesha onto Quarter Road to 59. This would just give a little more direct route, but also somebody else paying this, what was over $1 million for just half of it, so I'm sure it would be at least a couple $1 million to do the section they're saying to do. And I just don't understand why we would say, no, we don't want somebody to pay for that. And just because we're talking some apartments that were less dense than the first time you considered it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the audience? If not, directors, any other comments or questions?
Clarification on the map.
Yes, sir. Yes, David.
Chris, can you come point to me where the Quarter Road everybody's talking about? Because I'm looking at it and I just can't.
Can we put the map up perhaps? so
Oh,
that-
yeah,
okay,
maybe the map
good.
would
Thank
help.
you, Megan.
The map. I was thinking it went through the middle of this property we're looking at, but I guess not.
Is this what you're wanting? Is this good?
I think they're
Wherever-
wanting to see where the,
Wherever Quarter Road is, you're
Quarter Road
saying
is and
will be
where this is going.
extended.
So the street extension is this yellow line here, and the red is the property.
There it is. Can you see the yellow?
Say it again, Megan. Oh, okay.
The yellow is the street extension that will be part of the significant development requirement, and then the red is the outline of the rezone area. The north is currently zone PD, so if you see that little white line, that kind of defines the area of where the south is being rezoned from industrial to PD.
So the yellow line at the top is Quarter Road over here as it turns to Waukesha. That's Quarter Road down.
Yes.
So that would be extended where the yellow is to 16.
Yes, it would connect to 16 there.
And that, so it goes where that curve is, and then there's almost immediately that
road that goes over to Kenwood, right? That I think
That is also
was
Waukesha.
kind of redone recently, wasn't it? It's a nice road.
The developer for Foxtail did a half-street improvement
Yeah.
on that for the east side of that road along their development. And then we also acquired the right-of-way to realign that section at the Waukesha and Quarter Road intersection in the future.
So people would have the option, if they wanted to go maybe a little out of the way, if they needed to get over to 16, and they didn't want to be on that road, they could get on that new section there and head over to Kenwood.
That's correct.
Okay.
We didn't have this map in our board packet, and I see now what you're talking about. I thought we were talking about this line you were talking about right there, Megan. You're saying this white line, that this separates the industrial from the PD.
Yes, that white line's kind of defining where that's at for you.
Why would they not just do all of this as PD instead of leaving a section industrial?
So staff specifically requested them to leave a section industrial because the future land use calls for industrial in this area, and we didn't want to lose too much industrial that we don't have any options in this area anymore. So they're leaving about 4 acres there as industrial, and that's a lot to allow access for the future industrial business there. And I know before you had mentioned, typically we don't have industrials abutting residential, but this is intended to act as a buffer between the single-family residential across the street and the single-family residential that we have going into the east there. So the multifamily, while residential, it is intended to act more as a buffer because it's higher density than what you have across the street with your single-family lots.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Chris.
I'd also point out, I believe this is I-1 zoning, so this is this is a lighter industrial use.
The lot that they're leaving remaining is actually I-2 zoning,
Is
or
I2.
I get the two mixed up. I think I-1 is the regular zoning, and then I-2 is light.
I2 is light industrial, I1 is industrial.
So this one is I-1 for industrial, and then to the south of them, that is light industrial.
And that will remain as industrial, is that what I'm understanding you're saying, the I-2?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes,
Thank you.
the little cutout there shown on the screen.
Thank you.
Well, our map shows that little corner is I-1, and the one south of it is I-2. Got like a million colors.
Okay, so that's future land use. So you can't really see too closely, but yeah, so you have
Megan.
this as I-1.
Megan, do you have your pen where you can kind of follow along?
Yeah, so,
That would help them a little bit.
so we have this being left over. Oh, if it would, pen's not writing. Okay, I can't do the pen, so I'll use the mouse. Okay, so this is the I-1 property where my mouse is at, the cursor, that they're leaving remaining. And then to the south here, this is an I-2 property where my little cursor is at right here. So that's light industrial.
What is to the east of the I-2?
To the east over here, across the street?
The I-2 right here.
Oh, that is county, but that's Dayspring.
Dayspring Warehouse.
Seeing how big of an area this street is, after listening to Kevin, I now see a little bit different. I didn't realize that there was that much street involved. But I still don't quite get how they believe that anybody is going to creep back to that 4 acres of industrial back there, and I don't understand why they wouldn't. I mean, if we're willing to give up 2/3 of this industrial space because they asked for it, why aren't we just going ahead and getting rid of the last bit? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to have an industrial pocket right there.
Chris?
Yes, there's, in that industrial use, there are some complementary uses. I can't speak to how it would be developed, but how it, for example, could be developed as storage facilities or something of that nature that could complement the multifamily use that surrounds it.
Storage facilities are industrial? Oh,
Yes.
I thought they were commercial.
And there's other uses that can be complementary to this type of development. For example, we've seen an influx and not just in Siloam Springs, but also in Northwest Arkansas about requests for land for warehouse office. Warehouse office looks more like a strip mall, but it has the garage door in the front. People can use that as the small light manufacturing. This is the stuff that could potentially complement this type of a development and be utilized as a method to buffer between the heavy industrial on one side when you have the residential use, and then you have the heavier industrial to the west, and can somewhat streamline through that to make it look a little bit more appealing and like it's a part of the actual overall design. How they actually utilize that would still be subject to what's allowed by right or by special use within an I-2 or an I-1 district, depending on which property you're talking about.
Thank you, sir. Directors?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mindy.
I just want to thank Kevin for bringing up an excellent point. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you were talking to Kevin Moore. Yeah, I appreciate
Kevin, yeah.
Kevin for you to point out something that I had not quite understood.
So with that, directors, do I have a motion to place ordinance 24-23 on the first reading, suspending the rules, reading by title only? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Hunt.
Yes.
Bristler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Blair.
No.
Long.
No.
Wiles.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Alan?
Ordinance number 24-23, an ordinance amending section 102-21 of the Siloam Springs Municipal Code, city zoning map, rezoning from I-1 to PD, property located at 2200 Highway 16, and amending the future land use map of Siloam Springs 2040 Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you, sir. With that, we will move to a resolution, Resolution 29-24, Final Plat Development Permit, Whispering Oaks Edition, Phase 1A, 300 to 500 block of Oak Crest Road. Chris, is that you
I can do it.
or Ben?
This will be presented by Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner.
Perfect. Ben?
I did present this at the pre-agenda meeting. We didn't have any additional changes or recommendations other than what's stated in the staff report, and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Directors, comments or questions? There being none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address Resolution 29-24? Hello, Ron.
Hello, Judy. Ron Holmeyer, Civil Engineering, 701 South Mount Olive. See if I can get this up, maybe it'll work better. As we stated at the Planning Commission, we do not feel that Condition 3 is warranted or necessary because basically they're wanting developer to do an enhanced grading of the site in an attempt to somehow avoid a builder problem of not having the site drain properly when they get through building their houses. The site drains right now. There's no standing water. There's no issues with drainage. So if there's anything that's results after the house is built, that would be on the builder. And the grading plan that was prepared and presented with the construction plan set was what a builder originally wanted, which was a flat pad. But now the builder that wanted the flat pad and drainage around it no longer requires those and builds in a typical fashion like all the rest of the builders in Northwest Arkansas. And so the grading plan that was included with the approved set of construction plans was an above and beyond proposal by the developer at the behest of the builder. But the actual site now works just fine, drains like it's supposed to, in accordance with the property development code, or property maintenance code, excuse me. And so therefore, we're asking that that condition be removed, that we do have, that the developer be required to do the additional grading for the site based upon the voluntary and over and above grading plan that was originally proposed. And condition stays and we have to do it according to the original plan, it'll be an addition, it'll be a significant increase in cost to the development, for the development, which would just simply be passed on to any future home buyer, which then makes the houses less affordable. So anyway, that's our request, that it be removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. So directors, any comments or questions on the request?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Betsy.
So I've heard different things about this and the drainage and stuff, so I'm trying to understand and clarify. And I understand right now there are no drainage issues. Not an engineer, but then you go in and you take away land where water used to be absorbed, and oftentimes builders come in and build it up a bit, and so now there's not that land because there are houses and streets and for water to be absorbed. Is there no plan for drainage? I just don't see how there couldn't have the potential for drainage. And then, I don't know, when I hear, well, then it would be on the builder, and again, not the expert, I hear, well, I feel sorry for the people if they do have drainage issues, because then they'll probably have to go to court and it'll be a mess yeah. So can you help me understand? Because then I also heard, and I'll probably get it wrong, that it's not, that y'all don't want to do the drainage plan that was presented, but you'll do a different drainage plan. Is that accurate? I've heard lots of different things, and I'd like to know how it'll be.
Okay, Ron Holmeyer again.
Thank you.
The adding of the homes and the effect that has already been accounted for with the detention basin, that's provided on the site. So what we're talking about is the drainage on the lots. The developer can do extensive lot grading that works great when but then the builder can come in and can change that completely when they build a house and regrade the lots. And so even though you've got a fully engineered individual lot to guarantee there will be no standing water and the drainage all works perfectly, it still depends on the builder to not alter that in any form or fashion. And so what I'm hearing is there's problems with people's yards not draining correctly and things of that nature. And you're kind of asking the person that's coming first to do something to make sure the guy that comes after him doesn't mess it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so probably there's a better chance it will work correctly if there's more detail done before the builder shows up. But it's not going to be a 100% guarantee that you won't still have problems after they get through with the job site.
Okay, so then, and I need staff's help on this, because I know that we changed like some of and I'm looking at Kevin, because hopefully he's been around me enough, he'll read my mind. Talked about, we changed some of the requirements for drainage and stuff that has to be done before building starts and all of that. Do you know what I'm talking about, Kevin?
Kevin Moore, city engineer. So a while back, probably not quite a year ago, we did start adding a note that the perimeter drainage and detention ponds and things like that had to be done at the beginning of the project to not negatively impact neighboring properties, if that's what you're recalling.
Right. So is all this matching? Like what they're willing to do, does it match?
So the issue that we're seeing here is the individual lot grading within the site. And as it is today, the developer and the home builder, neither one are doing that grading. So to Ron's point, it doesn't guarantee that there won't be any issues, but there's more likely to be a better final product if it's done on the front end. And I would like to mention that they have the opportunity to revise their grading plan, and we reworded that condition accordingly for simply unapproved grading plan, not the originally approved grading plan if they wish.
I'm not quite understanding that last part. Like, they have the ability to change it, like, if we say no on this, or if we say yes, what?
As part of the construction plans for that, they can change the individual lot grading to something else that meets our requirements. So if they would like to make another proposal that meets our requirements but is less costly for grading or for fill or whatever else on the developer, then they're welcome to do that.
So for this, the developer, not when the builder comes along. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, but it is worded in a way to where it could be done by the developer or the builder. It simply has to be done prior to building permit, not by any specific party.
So, but it will get done at some point.
That's staff's recommended condition.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Mark?
You lost me on that last statement. You're saying they can do this, but they have not. And you're recommending,
They always have the ability to revise their plans, particularly before it comes to the board as a final plat. So we allow final plat identical or final plat change. So they always have the ability to revise their plans with another engineered, stamped, and sealed set. But that would also need to meet our requirements. It just may be cheaper than what was originally proposed, and that's their
I got
option.
that, the staff recommends what?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Chris Paxton, Community Development Director. So right now, staff doesn't make any recommendations based off of what's being proposed. Right now, we have a stamped set that was designed by a PE. Instead of revising that plan set, the PE is asking for appears to be asking the directors to say that they just don't have to follow it. Staff has relayed the message to the engineer, even at the Planning Commission, that they have the ability to make a recommendation to change that. They can submit a different grading plan to us. It would go through the proper review process, and we would make a determination on whether or not it meets the requirements of the code. At this point, though, there seems to be an assumption that if we remove the recommendation that that they don't have to follow the civil engineer's stamped signed set that he has stamped and signed and is taking accountability for the grading on that lot, on those lots. Without a revision to it, and if the city were to say, yes, you can do it without following your approved professional engineer's signed design, then there's a conflict there. Our recommendation is that if there needs to be revisions to the plan set, then those need to be properly submitted for the review process. If they're approved through the process, then they can be re-signed, and that's the new approved plan set that would be used for the development. Rather than just moving forward saying that those don't necessarily have to be followed. I hope that kind of clears things up a little bit.
There's mud.
So,
Betsy?
Madam Mayor, so I heard from a citizen out there, and they said, and now it's clicking because I've been out there to look at it, that area has caused drainage and flooding problems for the people around them. And so that's a concern.
Madam Mayor, I thought that area was one where there was already, before anything happened, there were quite a few concerns with flooding. I think it would probably be just to the east of where this property is. We had people at one of the meetings that, a lot of them talked about some pretty significant flooding over there. And so then the concern was that a new development would just increase that. So I don't know if anything about it's happening, or about whatever's going on now is increasing, but I know that was a concern.
It was, because if I'm remembering correctly, and I might not be, I've been out there when it's flooding. And maybe this was some initial work was started, and then it started creating problems. But yeah, that area is.
Well, I think it was a
caused-
problem before.
Right, but then they did
So,
something a
directors,
few
if I
years
might
back.
remind you
Oh.
that you need to ask me for the floor before you start having a conversation. So if we can still do that, please. So Betsy, you still have the floor.
So anyway, so that's a concern with the flooding and, yeah. And there's also, I was asked why this was changed from a single phase to a multi-phase project. And are they going to come back later and ask for duplexes or other things? So I don't know anything about that other than a citizen asked. I don't know if any, you can answer that or.
Go ahead, Ron.
Okay. Ron Holmeyer again. Property is zoned R1, which is your large residential, so there would be no duplexes rezoning for something other than large large 10,000 square foot minimum lot, single-family residential.
Okay, because I guess, I'm jumping around, I apologize. So going back to the drainage, I guess there was a developer that started, and once they started, then that was when the flooding to the east got really bad.
I know the development to the east did not have any substantial drainage improvements installed when it was developed. I know the county's been out and looked at it and acknowledged that it hasn't been. We're installing a 6-foot deep ditch to carry the flow that's trying to get through that neighborhood without anything other than maybe 18 or 24-inch culverts and essentially no ditches. So we're not going to be doing anything with this development that will back it up in any way or fashion. And along that east side, there will be a swale cut along the fence line, but far enough away to not, hopefully not affect the trees. But there will, any water that backs up and spreads out on that will then get into that swale, get to the 6-foot ditch, and then get on across its property. So, yeah, the drainage problems in the area we're aware of, but we're trying our best to not make it anything worse and hopefully make it better. Because if it gets off and through this development quicker, it'll be better. The phasing, we took phase one. It was always intended to be 2 phases. All we're doing is splitting phase 1 into 2 halves.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think, was that the last of your questions?
It was, thank you.
Andy, do you have questions? No?
Madam Mayor, I've
Yes,
got a
David.
question. Ron, a minute ago, you were explaining that to follow this rule, each lot has to be graded to drain. And I don't know if I understood what you were saying is that if a different developer later comes along, how can the original, is this not going to be all developed, built homes by the developer? Are all the lots not going to be built and sold by this one developer, or are they just selling the lots?
Developer is developing lots and selling them to a home builder. Okay? So the developer will not be building the homes on the lots.
Okay.
And, you know, as far as the comment about we've been directed to provide, that we have the option of providing a revised grading plan that meets city standards or whatever. Sorry, I don't remember exactly how that was stated, but, you know, I've searched the code and I have yet to find the standard that I'm supposed to comply with, so.
I was just curious in terms of each lot, it says grade to drain, each lot must be graded to drain. And I didn't quite understand if it was just,
yeah, I mean,
if it could be 4 or 5 different home builders, and that's where your concern was, so.
No, but like I said, staff raises concerns every time we talk about lot grading that the home builders are not getting the lots to grade properly when in that process. And so they are considering and probably may eventually bring you some some ordinance to consider to require more detailed and defined drainage and grading for each individual lot as part of it. Right now, I'm not aware of that. It just simply says that, you know, you're supposed to drain and not have any standing water, which If that's the only standard I have to follow and provide a finished floor elevation that meets the building code requirement, then I can do that. I just, you know,
I was just trying to get in my head exactly what the plan was for each lot, so, thank you.
Ron, you have a long history with the city, and I appreciate the many good things you've done. But earlier, we had a citizen get up concerned about their drainage, and we paused to go investigate. I'm not an engineer, and this seems like a little bit of a fight. I don't want to come back later because somebody gets drainage problems by something we allowed to happen. I don't want to make it harder on you either. What's the solution?
my personal opinion, when the developer's through, we do our final walkthrough, site's drained, there's no water standing anywhere. Builders get out there, they build the homes, they regrade the lots. Sometimes they work great, sometimes they don't. So, you know, there's only so much the developer can do when somebody's going to come after them that has the ability to alter what the developer did. So personally, it should be the builder that's having to make sure that those lots drain when they're done, because developer can only do so much, and then it's still up to the builder to make it work.
Alan, would you throw your 2 cents in now, please? I'm not an engineer. I don't want to get in the middle of the fight, but it's your job.
Yes, sir. One of the things we'll have to do is, if this passes, is our inspectors are going to have to make sure our drainage, and we have some kind of plan to make sure, because that's one of the biggest problems I have as city administrator, is fixing drainage problems from years ago, from things that have been built that have caused, and I think I heard someone earlier say things are built up. Well, when they're built up, the water goes down to the lower, the houses and causes drainage problems. That's not what I want right now. I defer to Kevin. Kevin, what is your idea on how we can keep this from becoming a drainage problem? What is our recommendation?
Our recommendation is that it be graded to drain, whether by the developer or the home builder. Staff doesn't have a preference. What I can tell you is that as the site sits currently, they've not followed the grading plan that's in their construction plan set.
Yes, Lisa.
At this point, with all the conversation, I have a lot more questions, but I really don't know how to ask them because I need more information. And I would like to table it for 2 weeks.
So do you?
I make a motion to table so we can do our due diligence.
Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second to table. Actually, once there is a motion and a second, no, I am sorry. So,
Madam Mayor, I was going to address this at my director's comment. I don't believe that to be accurate Robert's Rule of Orders. Actually, I believe that we can't even discuss it until we make a motion and have a second.
and I will tell you, because I knew that you had that question. We are having our attorney look at that for us, to look at what we have adopted as rules and what state statute says. So we are looking into that. But after a motion and second, if I am correct, at this point, as it stands, we are now to take a vote. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, on a motion to table, that is correct.
Okay. So,
I think it's a motion to table that's
Yes.
different than another motion. Is that right, Jack? It's not a
That's
regular, any other
That's-
motion, but a motion to table.
stops everything.
I
That's
think.
correct. Yes, that is correct. So we have a motion and a second to table. Roll call.
Allen?
Yes.
Carroll?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Long?
Yes?
Wiles?
Yes.
Hunt? Yes. Wrestler? Yes.
So this will be tabled until our next regularly scheduled meeting, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking for? Okay,
Can-
so let's make sure we've got that in the records.
I make a request to hear what he was going to say now that we voted.
Hear you, Ms. Lees, I'm sorry.
Can we,
Make a comment?
can I request that we hear what his comment is? Because I still want to hear what he has to say, even if we're tabling it. It matters to me.
Yeah,
My name's Jim Crine. I live at 14818 South Highway 43 here in Siloam. I'm the developer. It's not a fight. I work well with Kevin and his it's just maybe a agree to disagree situation. And we've always been able to work through stuff, no matter it was him or the engineer before him. And it's not a fight. And I want that to be clear. And we just don't feel like there's a need for the grading because the property grade's fine and but I understand where they're coming from. That's on the approved set of plans. So I guess we'll just come back next meeting, but we'll come up with a plan with the city between now and the next meeting as far as the grading. But I just want to make it clear that it's not a fight. It's a discussion. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
I don't think he really meant fight.
I apologize if I...
So with that, we will
Madam
move.
Mayor,
Yes,
over here.
yes. Ken,
Hello. I would like to ask the board to consider placing an item on tonight's agenda. So tell me how much information you want for that, what this is. Last week, we had a very good presentation on the gasification issue. I would like briefly to discuss that, if we may. And so I would like to, if the board is all right with it, to put that out on tonight's agenda for discussion.
yes, sir. So would you like to
And
make
I
a
would like
motion
to
that
make
we
that
add that
motion.
to the current agenda
Yes,
for
ma'am.
discussion? So we have a motion to add the discussion for gasification to tonight's agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Carol?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Long?
Yes?
Wiles?
Yes.
Hunt? Yes. Wrestler? Yes. Allen?
Yes.
Motion to add is approved, so yes, ma'am.
If we're going to add and keep discussing, may we have a break, please?
Yes, we may. We will take a 5-minute recess. Call this meeting back to order for the Siloam Springs Board of Directors. And at this time, we have added an item for discussion of gasification. So Ken, I will let you start off.
Thank you very much. Last week, we heard a very good presentation by Jason and the TPG engineering firm. Since we had that meeting on Friday, I spoke with a representative, a state representative from a neighboring district on the phone and talked about this for a good bit. And they just want to stress that this is a problem, one that seems nobody wants to address, but he's very appreciative that we would even consider what we have considered to this point. And he was even on his way to Little Rock to kind of see if he could possibly create a little bit of buzz. It's from listening to Jason, and I'm going to put him on the spot and have him ready to answer any other questions, but listening to Jason and some of the other people in the area, I think this is going to be a bigger problem sooner than later than what most people realize. We have talked about it as a board here. I've been fortunate enough to visit with Jason extensively and visit some county-wide meetings and observe, and it is very interesting seeing what is going on and people people's views of the future. And there's unanswered questions, and there is a lot of questions that cannot be answered until a study is done. It's just that simple. I know the last meeting, money was a concern, but we can't even talk about money until we know what it is we're wanting to build. And our options will only come about as a study is completed. So I'd like to hear from the other board members, but all that being said, at the appropriate time, I am going to move that we proceed with the study. The sooner, the better. We'll know whether it's even something we want to do or not. We'll know if it is something that we can do or not. We can talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, and nothing will ever get done. And so, like I said, I'll open it up now to hear what the others are saying, but I will, just so you'll know, I will make a motion that we approve the study, because I think it's important, and the sooner that we can get started with it, the sooner it'll get done, and we will have the answers that we're all have been asking. So, thank you.
Thank you,
Madam
Kim.
Mayor?
So before we move on, I do have a question for Jay. If we're requesting a study, do we need to have a resolution or an ordinance, anything that the board has to vote on in order to move forward with the study?
That's what I was going to address, Madam Mayor, is that we can't vote on a study. We can vote to ask staff to bring us a proposal for a study. That's really,
Yeah, that's.
because we don't have a study or any cost or, so.
Right. And that's, Madam Mayor, that's my question. I mean, Christina's not here. We need to see if this is in the budget and.
Well, I think you have to ask, and even if we vote, but we're asking staff to investigate bringing us the proposal for a study.
Right, so, Jay?
Madam Mayor, Jay Williams, City Attorney, I would agree that a vote by the board would be to request staff to bring a recommendation with a proposed resolution for consideration by the board.
Thank you, sir. So, that being said, we have the floor open for discussion before we move to that point. So is there any other discussion, directors, at this time before we request that? And Alan, did you want to say something to the board before
No,
we?
ma'am, if that's the
Okay.
recommendation, staff will work in a recommendation forward.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
So, yes, Mindy?
It's not in the budget, right? Is
This would
it-
be a budget amendment.
This would be a budget amendment, okay. So we know up front that this was not planned for in this year's budget. Okay.
I've talked to Christina, and I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No, go ahead.
Director, but I've talked to Christina. We can find the money to do the study if that is the wish of the board.
Anyone else? So then, Ken, I'm assuming you would like to make a motion to?
I'd like to move that we direct staff to bring a resolution to proceed with the feasibility study for the gasification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So with that, do I have anyone else? So roll call.
Allen?
Yes.
Hunt?
Yes.
Rissler? Yes. Allen?
Oh, I thought you already said Alan.
Did I say, oh, Blair, sorry. I apologize.
Yes.
My mistake.
Oh, my name twice.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, they always say
Carol.
vote often,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so sorry.
vote early and vote often.
You want a
never
roll
had
call
name
again?
call twice.
Mayor, and
Yes,
and if I may,
Alan.
I was going to get it, but a motion
Yes.
was already made, so I was going to wait till afterwards. This is something staff and I have talked about in policy group today. There's so much unknowns about gasification. I think the only way to find out if this is something positive and something that will work is the study. So for staff and I to make a recommendation, there's so much more that we need to learn about it. We've heard a lot of really great things, but we don't know what the negative things are. We don't know if it's small, big, medium. So I am, definitely think we need to study.
I think that's right. So with that, we will be moving into our staff reports. Looks like we have the Planning Commission report, May financials, and your report, Alan. You have the floor.
Again, your May financials, those are in your packet. If you have any questions, you can ask Ms. Christina. I have expenditures to report. The first is $36,015 for Helena Street Service Material for streets. The second expenditure is $30,135 for Britt Street Service Material, also for Streets Division. And then for $37,702, AECI parts to repair transmission switch damaged in storms for electric. And then the very last per resolution, $148,540 for AECI 7 manual pad mount switch gear for line extensions for electric. And I just, in my report, I'd just like to remind everybody, we have the block party scheduled for this Thursday. We're really excited. Staff's worked extremely hard. It'll start at 5 o'clock. Enjoy the food trucks, yard games, bounce houses. On stage will be Maude Crawford, will perform at 6, followed by Clay Page at 7:45. Other activities include line dancing, skydiving display, a presentation of colors, and a fireworks beginning at dark.
Now, this is all at the rodeo grounds, right?
Yes,
Alan?
sir. Yes,
All
sir.
of it, the whole block party, everything?
Yes, sir, and thank you for asking that, Director. One of the things that staff has worked on, you'll be able to park at the high school by the football field, or you can park at the church across the street. I have permission there. Fire will have medics and police and staff. We have a lot of people be out there. We'll actually, we've rented 4 golf carts, 6-seaters, where we can help folks who are having trouble getting there, and we can drive them to the location.
I heard Paxton was part of the skydiving. Is that right?
I heard the same thing. But just really excited, and hopefully, this is something the board wanted, is hopefully our biggest and best fireworks display. We put extra money into that for our citizens and visitors. We're excited about that.
Alan, before you continue, you said there's parking across the street at the church. That parking doesn't actually open until 7, the assembly.
When I talked to the assembly said we could start parking, but I will double check that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was said at church, but
Okay.
I would double check.
I would
Yeah,
believe that.
just so that people
So
don't
I will-
show
I
up
will-
and are
I will
like,
double check that.
yeah.
And then, my first thing I should have said, with Renee's retirement, Janae Fain is now our city clerk. She officially started yesterday, so just congratulations and really looking forward.
One class.
Just a reminder, city offices will be closed Thursday. A lot of staff will be celebrating Independence Day with their families, and a lot of staff will be working the event. And hopefully, everybody can come out for that. And as a reminder, July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, fireworks can be enjoyed between the hours of noon and 10 p.m. Chief, did I hit that? Again, we will be enforcing the best we can that no fireworks after 10 p.m. But they can do it from noon to 10 for those 3 days. And just a reminder to the board that I will not be at the next board meeting. I will be on vacation. Also, Janae will be on vacation a day or 2 before me, and my return, I will be back to work that Monday. And so, again, Barbara will be sitting in her seat, and Christina will be sitting in mine. I just wanted to remind, I'll send you another email if needed. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. So we will move into the director's reports. Before I turn the floor over to the directors, I do want to wish everyone a happy July 4th, happy and safe July 4th. I hope that everyone can get out to the block party and enjoy the fireworks and the food and festivities. We hope it's not too hot. So, but anyway, congratulations, Janae. And,
Here, I know I said I was done, but I got one more thing, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I know I told the board pre-agenda, give you an update on Brightspeed. We still have a work stoppage. Steve is working through that, and hopefully they can work through the permitting and bonding issues that we were having, and some damage that we need to make sure we get our cost, or those things fixed. So again, just an update on that, and then we're supposed to have a meeting on Wednesday.
Thank you, Alan. And one last thing. I want to thank everyone that was here tonight to participate in our discussions and for their input. I know that myself and the directors always appreciate that. And I want to say thank you to the directors for your service and for your cooperation with myself. And I think that we do and will continue to do a good job for this city. We all have a heart for our citizens and want to see what's best for them. And so I appreciate as we move forward that we can do that together. So with that, then I will come to the directors. And since we have a new director, I am actually going to start with you tonight, Mark.
Well, I'm going to pass.
Well, you may certainly do that. That is your prerogative.
Thank you.
Thank you. And David, then we'll come to you and end with you, Reed.
He never did that in school, I can assure you. Or in his previous service on this board. Mark always wanted to be the one to adjourn. I wanted to, first of all, apologize to the writing club. We had a trash mix-up where it was kind of a vicious cycle where the county collects the trash with their prisoners, but the city collects the dumpsters, and it was blocking, and so it was a mess, but it got taken care of. Deal with that. We've had other problems, and I hope, many years past, but it has been a problem where trash was not emptied before the Dogwood Festival downtown, or before the Christmas parade. And I just hope that we can put that in front of mind for each big event that happens around town. Regarding the church approving for a liquor license for a restaurant, I just want to make sure that everyone understands, this is not going to open the floodgates where any place in town can just do this. There are a series of steps that have to be cleared before this could ever happen, namely the approval by the city administrator, and there would be an investigation. So just because no, the church has to voluntarily provide a letter, and there are many steps. This is not a thing that's just going to be wide open for anyone to apply. So please don't think that. Congrats, Janae, and congrats, Renee, for her retirement. I will say, Madam Mayor, I did recently run across, I keep everything unpacked right, but I came across the article, the newspaper article from, I don't know how many years ago, where the headline was, "City does follow Robert's rules." And it was Jay Williams, the attorney then, who said, if it's not in our board rules, if it's not broken by state law or whatever, then we do follow Robert's rules. And it was just something I just happened to see, and for it to have brought up tonight, I was like, well, yeah, it was on the headline. So, but you were absolutely right. There are different things on different types of motions, and a motion to table is cut and dried. I'll just let everybody know, I am going to ask that we review the fireworks policy in this city. I know we have a limited number of days and a limited number of times. It looks like there are 4 days. I don't know of any city in Northwest Arkansas that has that many days that can be fireworks in the city limits. Gentry has 1 day, and other cities I know have just 1 day. And I only bring it up because for 3 years I have been hearing the complaints from people with animals, from people that are elderly and go to bed early. And I'm right in that group, man. I go to bed at 9:30 or 10, and 11:30 p.m. they start up June 28th. And just went on like a war was going on down the street. And it's been that way every night since. So June 28th is pretty early than July 2nd, which tonight is the first night that we legally can do so. And it's always been this way. Ever since we approved it, there's been a pushing of the envelope by, I assume, young people that like to do this. But the other thing we don't think about is the amount of trash that is left in the streets from people not picking up their fireworks. And it's pretty nasty and pretty dirty. So I'm just letting us know that this has been a problem for quite some time, and I would like to have us discuss limiting the number of days. So that's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Mindy?
Okay, I'll start by thanking the city staff, anybody else who's involved in putting on the July 4th party. I'm looking forward to that. That is something that we requested last year, partly to keep up with a town to the north of us. So we'll see if we have more to offer, and hopefully that a lot of work that's gone into it, and it looks like it's going to be a really fun event. I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank Renee for her years of service and wish her the best in her retirement. And I want to welcome Janae. Been good working with you so far. And I guess I'll tell you to have a good vacation.
My phone may fall in the ocean.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might want to hide your phones. I have someone hide your phone for you. So no, do enjoy your vacation.
Thank you, Mindy. Ken?
First, I just want to thank everyone for allowing me to do the late addition to our agenda.
You get one time during your 4-year, you used it tonight.
That's all right. This is a good thing to be pushing for, I think.
David's on a roll tonight.
And wish everybody a good, safe, fun 4th. And I'm looking forward to the city's fireworks display. I've heard it's going to be much better than it has been, so that's a good thing. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Betsy?
I wanted to say congratulations, Janae. I'm very happy for you. Very pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
There were a few things I should have written. An update, the intersection of Kenwood and Lincoln 59, there have been a lot of accidents over the years, and it's been a real cause for concern. And thankfully, RDOT is now, they've started a study. They're saying it does warrant a signal, at least preliminary. It's going to be incredibly expensive. Who knows when it'll move forward, but they are at least.
Where at, Betsy? What?
Kenwood and 59 or Lincoln,
Okay.
over the hill, and there's that by
Yep,
T.H. Rogers
yep.
Lumber Company.
Okay, yep.
So they are looking into it, and hopefully we'll see some changes and keep people safe. I have no idea what else I was going to say, so it couldn't have been that important. Have a great 4th of July. Be careful. Oh, I know. This heat is hideous. If you have elderly neighbors, check on them. Keep an eye out for each other, because people can dehydrate and get really sick really quickly in this kind of weather. So try to keep an eye on each other. That was all.
Thank you, Betsy. Lisa?
Congratulations, Janae. Glad to have you here. I want to give my condolences to Gary Turner's family. I didn't get to make it to the funeral because I found out while I was in Florida about the funeral. And so he did a lot for our community and did a lot for our country when he served. And so I just want to recognize Gary and everything he had done. I have been getting calls on fireworks, even on vacation, and I actually text Chief Miller on vacation. Sorry, I texted him on a Sunday. I think that I hope that we respect our neighbors, because, I mean, we do give a good time, leeway of giving you a chance to let off your fireworks. So I just ask that people respect their neighbors, because a lot of people have to work still. We are doing a Constitution camp. I'm pretty excited about this. It'll be August 1st. It'll be at New Life Church, where if you're interested in sending your child, 6 to 12 years old, has to have completed kindergarten. You can go to constitutioncampnwa.com. They will be learning about the Constitution, the preamble, the Bill of Rights. They memorize the preamble. They're going to be coming to the August 6th board meeting and reciting the preamble. And they will be presenting a resolution to Mayor Nation. And they'll have all their signatures on it, like the Constitution. And then on August 2nd, we will be at City Hall learning about the process of how government works. So pretty excited about that camp. So if you know anybody who wants to volunteer, or if you know any kids that would love to join us, constitutioncampnwa.com. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe 4th of July.
Thank you,
Oh,
Lisa.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
go ahead.
This year has been paid, usually the Constitution Camp in Little Rock, they charge. This year, we have a sponsor that's paying for the full camp, so there's no cost. It's a no-cost camp. So, sorry.
Perfect, no, that's fine. Is that it?
Yep.
Thank you very much. So before I come to you, Reed, just one, I wanted to say, that, yes, to Gary and to his family, thank you for allowing him to serve our city for the many years that he did. And there were a lot of things that nobody knew that Gary did behind the scenes for our city and for our citizens. So, yes, and I want to say, I was able to go to the service. And it is just so moving to watch the respect that these officers in our police and fire department, that they have for each other. It's a family, and for our community, the care that they want to give to our citizens. So it was very humbling and very moving. Thank you, Chief, for putting that together. The color guard that you all have now is just, it's a beautiful thing. And so thank you for that, and we wish the Turner family much peace at this time. So,
Madam Mayor, and I should have said
Yes.
that just Chief Kendall and Chief Miller did an outstanding job of giving
Yes.
him that respect that he deserved and that proper send-off. Heard really good things, and Dustin was telling me today how well and just how honored they were to be a part of that, and they did just a great job. So big thank you to you guys.
Madam Mayor, I would like to also echo, our families go way back. I've known Gary for so long. He was a great deputy fire chief. He always was reliable, very modest, never wanted credit. But he was a Vietnam veteran and served our country. And his wife Kathy worked for our family business for many decades. And I've known their kids, and it was a shock, and I hate to hear it, but just a wonderful man.
yes, thank you, David. Yeah,
I
Lisa.
have a T-shirt, and I wanted to share it because of something you said. I have a T-shirt that has SSFD and SFPD, 2 badges, 1 family. And since I've left the PD, I've been to so many, we have this reunion group, and it's sad that our group is getting smaller because we are going to so many funerals, and it's hard. It gets harder every year passing away. And so, thank you for all you guys do.
So with that, Reed, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This last month, we had the rodeo here in town. And I was able to attend on Thursday evening. And it was very impressive how we put our rodeo on, how it draws the attention of the older, the younger, and how they keep things moving. I thought it was very well done, very well orchestrated. And I look forward to many more years of that, but I think it's going to take some input from city as well as rodeo fans. So as a community, I would like to express the idea that we need to be proactive in this to keep our rodeo what it is and where it can go to be a huge success. Last Friday night, we had our 4th Friday for the month of June. And to me, it was success one more time. And It was a little bit warm, but I was able to find shade, thank you. But I was very impressed with how we had the vendors, the people that participated, the music that was put on, and just a bright spot for our community. I was very proud to be a Siloam Springs citizen. And I look forward to what's going to happen this Thursday with our block party. I have high expectations, and I think they will be fulfilled. I do want to say, Renee, wherever you are, thank you for your years of service. I know you are a tremendous help to me, and I hope the enjoyment of retirement is wonderful and those grandbabies run you ragged. And congratulations, Janae. Welcome. And with that, Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.